Hello! If you're watching this, you're probably trying to speak Korean or you're thinking about it. Maybe you've downloaded a few apps, looked up some phrases, and let me just say, I get it because I've been there. And I'm not a native speaker, I'm not a professional linguist or a language coach, but I am someone who's been learning Korean for over 9 years. And honestly, I've made more mistakes than I can count. I really didn't have any type of secret method or natural talent. I just stuck with it, and over time I figured out what worked, what really helped me go from fumbling around with words to actually speaking Korean confidently. So today I want to share things that helped me speak Korean, not just memorize it or pass a test, but actually use the language. And I hope it helps you feel less lost and a lot more motivated to keep going. Now, before we jump in, if you're just starting out, we've made something for you. It's a free Learn Korean Quick Start cheat sheet with essential phrases, beginner grammar, shortcuts, and more. Just click the link in the description to grab your copy. So, how did I get started? For me, it all began kind of casually. I really wasn't planning on becoming fluent. It started with curiosity. Like a lot of people, I got interested in Korean culture through dramas and K-pop. And back then, the Korean wave was just starting to go global. So something about the sound of the language, the music, the storytelling, it just kind of pulled me in. And at the time, I didn't know a single word of Korean, not even hello. And I remember thinking, okay, I'll learn a few words, maybe some phrases, nothing too serious. Honestly, I kind of thought I'd quit in a month since I've started hobbies that lasted only about 2 weeks before. So I figured, well, we'll see, right? But something was different this time. And the more I learned, the more I really wanted to keep going. And that biggest shift happened when I stopped only studying and started speaking. Now, don't get me wrong. In the beginning, it was scary. Grammar rules were entirely confusing and particles were a total mystery to me, so the thought of speaking Korean out loud was just terrifying. There were no Korean speakers in my hometown, no classes, no native friends, so I remember feeling really excited, but a little bit ridiculous. I'd be muttering Korean to myself in the mirror, thinking, is this ever going to lead anywhere? And I would also see lots of videos of other foreigners speaking fluent Korean flawlessly. And it kind of inspired me, but it mostly discouraged me. I'd think, there's no way I'm ever going to be that good. And that mindset, I think, is something that a lot of learners deal with. We compare ourselves, we feel behind. But here's what I didn't know then. Fluency really doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from doing it anyway, even when you're scared. And that's what I did. So let me be honest about the stuff that confused me at first, because it wasn't just grammar. One of the roadblocks I hit at first was sentence structure. You know how English is like subject, verb, object? Well, Korean is more like subject, object, verb, and that really tripped me up a lot at the start. So I remember trying to say, I like listening to music while I study, and kind of freezing. In Korean, that becomes 나는 공부하면서 음악을 듣는 걸 좋아해요. But when I tried to build that sentence, my brain went, okay, music, like, study, wait, what? And if I translated it literally back into English, it sounded something like, I study while music listening like. And it kind of broke my brain. So I'd write down the entire paragraph just to figure out the word order. And then there was pronunciation, which I completely underestimated. I couldn't hear the difference between o and 어. And I would say 배고파 as 보고파. And people would smile, but not really understand me. And reading words out loud was a total mess. Like the word 통로. You'd think it'd be pronounced 통로, but according to Korean pronunciation rules, it actually sounds more like 통도. And nobody warned me about that stuff. When you're self-studying, it takes a while before you even realize you're saying something wrong. But beyond the technical stuff, what really helped me back was my own fear. I was scared of saying things wrong, scared of using informal speech and accidentally offending someone, or scared that I'd speak and just get a blank stare back. And that fear was what kept me silent for way too long. So here's the good part. Let me tell you what actually helped. First, speaking Korean to myself. Yep, just me and my awkward Korean. And I know it sounds weird, but when you think about it, we talk to ourselves all the time in our native language, so why not in our target language too? And at the beginning, I would repeat lines from dramas. So whenever I heard someone say 하지마 or 진짜, I'd pause the video and mimic them. And sometimes I'd even shout 안 돼 when I dropped something. And it was really silly, but it helped. So I also started narrating my day in Korean, like 저는 지금 집에 가요 or 오늘은 진짜 피곤해요. It wasn't smooth and it wasn't always correct, but it got me used to forming sentences in real time. And then I started using language exchange apps. At first, I barely knew what to say, but I'd show up anyway. I'd copy phrases from my notes, repeat what they said, and slowly started to feel like I could speak more naturally. I also used translation apps, but instead of just copying and pasting, I started breaking down the grammar and the sentence patterns. And eventually, I was lucky enough to meet a Korean friend who very patiently listened to my Korean sentences and gently corrected me. Now, one time I remember I said, 저는 좋아요 피자를, and that was total word salad. And instead of laughing, she just said, 피자를 좋아해요. No judgment, but a good correction. And moments like that really helped me build my confidence. Now, I'd also have a habit of reading everything out loud, from textbooks to cereal boxes, and later on, I even had a teacher who helped me identify the words I was mispronouncing. She'd say things like, oh, you always say the word like this, but listen, this is the right sound. And it was pretty awkward and demeaning at first, but that feedback made all the difference. So over time, I started to notice a few truths about language learning. First, you don't have to memorize everything. Just need to remember enough to start speaking. And I used to feel guilty about not finishing vocabulary lists, but eventually I realized I didn't need 100 words, I needed 10 words I could actually use. Second, listening is more powerful than we think. Not just studying listening, but absorbing it. At first, I'd put on podcasts, and when I moved to Korea, I'd listen to conversations on the street and even eavesdrop on the subway. So everything was like a mini lesson. And at the time, everyone was wearing masks here, so I'd hear a phrase I couldn't understand and whisper it under my mask until it made sense. And third of all, speaking badly is still better than not speaking at all. So when I first started talking to strangers in Korean, I was so nervous, and sometimes I said things that made no sense. But people really appreciated the effort, and they'd fill in the blanks, or they'd gently correct my sentence and keep the conversation going. So that's how I improved. Not through perfection, but through persistence. So if you're just getting started, here's what I would tell you. 1. Learn Hangeul. Seriously, don't use any shortcuts. Romanized Korean will only hold you back. Once you know Hangeul, everything gets easier. Reading, writing, and even pronunciation. Then, focus on your words. Don't just learn your top 1,000 verbs. Start with your vocabulary. What do you talk about every day? Your job? Your hobbies? Your dog? For me, it was literature and digital art. So, I made flashcards for obscure words that textbooks would never teach, like brush tool or plot twist, and I think it made learning fun and a lot more practical. 3. Speak out loud, even when you're alone, even when it feels awkward, and even when you mess up. I still have plenty of old recordings of myself talking in Korean, and at the time I cringed watching them back, but now I'm so glad I saved them because I can really see how far I've come. 4. Be consistent. You don't need to study for hours a day. Just find a rhythm. 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week, or whatever fits your life. Do that, but do it consistently. And finally, know your why. For me, it was curiosity at first. Then it became about understanding, then connection. And even now, I ask myself, why am I still learning this language? And the simple answer is, because I love it. And your why will really carry you through those hard days, through the plateaus, and through the moments where you really think you want to give up. So find your why and really hold on to it. Now, I'm still learning. I still mess up sometimes, and I still forget words that I've known for years, but I can speak Korean now, and I would say I speak it pretty well. And that's something I'd never thought I'd be able to say at the start. So whether you're starting from 0 or you're halfway there, just remember, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep going. Now, if you found this helpful, it'd mean a lot if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel. We've got more tips and stories to help you on your Korean learning journey. So thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what's been the hardest part about speaking Korean for you, or what's something that's helped you the most. See you in the next one. 다음에 또 봐요.